That's right. We're live. It's the Brothers Sisters. And we've got new fancy dancy music. Of course, I don't know if you can actually hear that music because it's brand new. So if you're watching us, we're doing the robot. And if you can't hear this music, we look like idiots.
Yes, it's the music that keeps us from looking like idiots.
That's right. No, so the format we use, which is called StreamYard, they've added all this new stuff. So, like, here's this fun background music that you can hear. And I've just turned it off because it's really not that good. But hey, it's something new and different.
And it's free.
It's absolutely free. So if you are joining us and you've been with us before, the Brothers Sisters Smart Dumb Fun is back. We have been on a summer break, I guess you could call it.
You could call it that. Well, we haven't been here anyway, and it's now November. So
and
summer.
And we've got microphones now.
Oh,
there
yes.
they are.
Yes.
Our microphones.
Mine's there. You can see mine.
See, we have different tables because I have my Kalamazoo table, so my microphone is higher. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to there's nothing I can do about it. It's just like,
it's just right there. It's just right there.
No. So the other big piece of news is that we're going to start dropping on Spotify early in the week. Mondays is the goal. So if we're talking weird, like we're like being super descriptive, that's because the people that are listening to us on Spotify won't be able to actually see us. So they're just hearing us. So then we'll be like super descriptive. And I actually got that idea because there's a podcaster I listen to, Colin Cowherd. He's a sports guy and he says everything like 8 times. And it's like, why does he say everything like 8 times? And then I realized, well, of course, he's saying things like 8 times for anybody that's joining the podcast late or because he does a live show, that sort of thing. So I'm like, I get it. I get it now. So that's what's happening.
We thought maybe he was a middle school teacher where you repeat everything 8 times.
Oh, boy, you do. That's what people ask me what I do for a living. I'm like, I repeat myself.
Exactly. I talk slowly. I repeat myself.
I talk slowly. And this is a thing. So before we get started today, like I said, we've been gone pretty much all summer because we've had lots of stuff going on. So we are back. We thought we would start us off for 10 questions because, like I said, the hope for Spotify is that we actually get a chance to kind of increase our audience. And so for people that don't know us or anything about us, we thought we would do our 10 question set today, which is a way for the world to kind of get to know us a little bit. But before we do that, one of the things that I wanted to kind of talk about is the idea that we're back, and this time we mean it. And what I mean by that is like we're just really trying to make a go at making this, more of a thing because I don't want to be a teacher anymore. Am I supposed to? I don't think I'm supposed to say that out loud, but I don't know. Just I really like doing this, and it's really fun, and I want to keep doing it. And it would be nice if we could actually, I don't make a living is the wrong word because I don't know that we can make a living, but at least
pay a few bills with it.
Pay some bills with it. Anyway,
yeah, exactly. So, just, what else we got to do?
Exactly. Well,
I'm along for the ride.
Fantastic, and you're such a good writer. Yeah, I know. I did things like form an LLC and trademark stuff. I know, right?
And I'm paying for half of it.
You sure are.
I know. So that's my contribution.
That
and
is
my sunny personality.
So sunny. I know. So for those of you that don't know what we do, we are basically a podcast about nothing and everything. And we enjoy each other's company. We just wanted to kind of catch up again. So I thought we would start off today by simply talking about some things that if you are going to listen to our show, here's some things if you're a new listener that you should know, and we can alternate these. I'll start. Number one, we've actually been doing this podcast for 3 years, but we're actually trying to make it a thing now. So we started this during COVID, and we are continuing on with it. And we've been a little bit of everything. We have topics. Sometimes we have guests. And the idea is that we will continue to do our topics, smart, dumb, or fun. We would like to expand the number of guests that we bring on the show because that's more fun and interesting. So this is not new, but it's kind of new all at the same time. Go ahead, Anne. Would you like to do number 2?
Well, the first thing I want to do, in case you don't know who we are, I'm Ann Brothers. My sister is Janice Brothers, and we're the Brothers Sisters. Jazz hands.
Jazz hands.
And so Smart Done Fun. Something you should definitely know about our show is that it is not a PG show. It's not even really a PG-13 show, So just for your enlightenment, Now you
So
know.
yeah, there will be salty language. There will be salty themes. There are going to be times when you're going to want to earmuff your kids if they're listening, or you can just let them listen and you can do some explaining later, which I think is a great idea because that's how you learn stuff.
Exactly.
Yes.
Jenny and I are easily amused. So you may sometimes tune into our podcast and think like, well, I'm not interested in that. But our enthusiasm will help you become interested. So even though if you may be like, I don't watch Gerard Butler movies. Oh, I bet you will after we talk about him.
You're going to get a new appreciation for Gerard Butler after this podcast. I swear, because we're going to watch all those again. And they're making a sequel to Plane.
That's what I heard. Are they going to call it Elevator or Escalator
Boat.
or Boat? Okay, you know what? I'm just going to be surprised. I'm not even going to speculate. I'm just going to be surprised.
The only downside is I don't think Gerard Butler's actually in it. I think it's the other guy. I know.
I'm so sad.
I know.
Well,
but
we'll have to
there's
watch Plane again.
I know. I will absolutely watch Plane again, which is one of the better Gerard Butler movies.
Mhm.
So, let's see. Number 5, we are both in our 50s. We are Gen X all the way. So we remember when you had to be home to get a phone call, and yet we can still create a podcast.
Exactly. We're in that middle ground,
I love it. I love being in this particular space because it is fun to kind of know things. I'm like, I used to use an IBM typewriter. And I can still, I can type like a regular person. Woo-hoo.
I know how to write in cursive.
And I can write a full paragraph.
And I know how to tell time without using a digital clock.
Well, it's so funny. Somebody pointed out something to me the other day, and it was such a great thing. It's like we were talking about clockwise or counterclockwise, and this old guy's like, no one knows what the fuck that means anymore. I was like, dude is right.
Right, exactly. What the hell are you talking about?
I'm like, there's no such thing as analog clocks anymore. So I was like, clockwise, that's for old people. And at the same time, I'm like, well, how do I explain clockwise or counterclockwise now? Because that literally is this entire paradigm of direction that's just kind of gone to the wind. I'm like, how the hell did that happen?
I know. It's like, well, make a circle. Now make a circle in the opposite direction.
I guess that's going to have to be Latin. And the kids are like, what's a circle? I'm like, oh.
All right. Never mind.
Kids these days, I swear. All right. Anyway, number 6.
We're not a murder or true crime podcast. So sorry. We do know that's a thing. I'm like, I don't really listen to either. I love podcasts and I don't really listen to either murder or true crime podcasts. So,
well, and it's funny because like I was looking at my Spotify. I was looking at the Spotify because, like I said, we're getting to ready to do things on Spotify, and like every podcast was like murder, 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 true crime, murder, murder, crime, true crime, murder, 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 and I was like, so this is what people really want to listen to. So at some point, Anne, we're at least going to have to do like say the word murder, true crime, something, or I don't know because we're well behind the curve when it comes to that sort of thing.
Oh, you know what? We should have Jeannie on. Jeannie loves true crime and murder.
Good. You know what? Okay, you know what Jeannie will be? Jeannie will be our true crime podcast consultant.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, because she loves them. So
okay, good. Because I don't really because the world is dark enough without me listening to it at all times. So anyway, so some of you might be wondering, A, where we've been, and B, what's new with us. And so and I'm going to let you kick this off because you got to deal with most of this summer.
So the first thing is that that's going on with us is that this summer we took a hiatus, summer and fall, to deal with estate stuff. And it wasn't my estate stuff.
No, and I think that probably is going to require us to jump right to number 5 on this list, which was family members kept dying. And that's pretty much how we spent our summer. We should probably just have a whole show on the trip we took to Colorado. Yeah. So that in itself was quite the trip. So that's part of the everybody's dying. And then, of course, we lost our Aunt Julie this summer, one of the original brother sisters. And so that's the estate that Anne got to deal with all summer because she was my Aunt Julie's executor. And to be clear, we will be doing a show on estate planning.
Yeah, because I got to tell you, people, it was definitely learn as I go, and there was so much. It's like I'm still like I'm still not over. I mean, it's mostly over, but it's still not quite over. And I'm like literally white knuckling it to January 6th.
Like, come on.
Come on.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and um it's amazing what we don't know what we don't know,
Right.
you know. And as all I can say is, and I think we should probably do the show, sooner rather than later, because there's a lot to learn.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
least you can do for your people is to get your poop in a group, because it really is, man, wow.
And my Aunt Julie was pretty on top of it when it came to having, like she had a will that was she'd, given to the her county, so that was on file already. She had a good lawyer that I could ask questions of. So she was in better shape than some people, but it was still there was still so much that I didn't know, that I didn't know I didn't know it until I was standing there having somebody tell me no, because I didn't know what I was doing. So
Right. Yeah, I would agree. It's just, yeah.
it's a learning experience. I got to learn so much this summer.
And what you learned is that this is the joy of being in your 50s, is that you start to lose more people around you. You start
Mhm.
to, your 20s is for getting married, your 30s is for having kids, your 40s is for getting divorced, and your 50s is for learning how to deal with estate stuff, because everybody starts to die. At least that's what it feels
Anyway,
like.
exactly.
Anyway, let's see. I moved, and I moved some more, and I kept moving, and we moved back and did stuff, and here we are. Long story short, back in Kalamazoo, working in Portage. Um, that's all I'm going to say. It's just it's been quite a 2023 has been it's been crappy. It's been a crappy year. I'm just going to say it. So yeah, but this is fun,
This
right?
is fun. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is new, but something else we could add to our list is that parents are getting older.
Yes. Yes. And
Mhm,
I feel fortunate that we still have our parents in our life. But they are getting older, and
mhm.
that becomes something that you spend some time thinking about, worrying about, wondering about, all that sort of good stuff. So,
Yes.
but enough of that, you guys. Let's go ahead and dig into the 10 questions. Now, we've done for those of you that have not, our new listeners, we've done 10 questions in the past, and the way it works is we kind of do this tennis style. So one serves, the other serves, one serves, the other serves. And then we basically each ask each other 5 questions, and we answer those questions. And it's a way for you to get to know us, and my sister and I to continue to get to know each other. Oh, look, we got Lori Worrell is with us. Lori Worrell. Hey, Lori.
Hi,
We're just talking.
Lori.
Lori is one of my friends from Minnesota, and she continues to be an awesome presence in my life. Yay, Lori. We love you. You're a super fan. You're going to
Super
be part of the sister squad, because that's another something that we'll be starting along the way. There are things that are coming. We're adding new stuff all the time. Miss you too, lady. Miss you too. For real.
Mm-hmm.
Big hugs and kisses to your family. What happened to your Packers today? Crossing my fingers that the kiddies can pull this one out today. We'll see. All right. So,
Jenny's
all right.
talking about the footballs. I do not
Yes.
understand.
Okay, so here's something that we wanted to do. We want to start every show as we move along, moving forward, is that we address something real quick that's either smart, dumb, or fun that happened this week. So, Am, what is something smart, dumb, or fun that happened this week?
Well, this week I finished a book called The Arbornaut, excuse me, A Life Discovering the Eighth Continent in the Trees Above Us by Megan Lohman. And she is pretty much the godmother of studying trees at tree level, at leaf level, not at the ground. So she developed ways to get into the trees so that she could study them at leaf level. And she has opened this whole new field of study over the last 40, almost 50 years. And it's because of her that we know as much about trees and what lives in trees and what lives off of trees is because of her work and the work that she's encouraged with other scientists. So Duncan, my husband, bought me this book. He's very good at picking out books for me. I just finished it this week. It was super cool. My friend Amy, who teaches over downriver, Amy, she actually this is one of the women scientists that she talks about using in her curriculum, in her STEM curriculum. So yeah, so maybe even if you don't know about it, maybe your kids do know about her anyway. So there you go. That
That's
was my
completely
smart
awesome.
thing. That might be the only smart thing I ever report about, but I'm like, I'm going to start out smart.
You know what? Great minds think alike, because I started out with something smart too, and talking about the
Mhm.
fact that Iceland's gonna explode.
Oh,
Yes, you guys, Iceland, state of emergency has been declared in Iceland, specifically southwest Iceland around the Reykjavik area, because it's going to explode. They're pretty sure it is. They've had about 800 earthquakes. Over the last couple of days. And if you know anything about Iceland, duh, because Iceland literally sits right in the middle of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. You've got the North American plate on one side, you've got the Eurasian plate on the other, and so literally, it's this massive volcanic area, and they've got a huge magma plume that has come up and is spreading south, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And there's a number of towns that they've evacuated right along the coastline there, that southwest coast, because the magma plume is getting bigger, it's getting more shallow, and so they're pretty sure that this is going to be a good size eruption, probably one that will match the size of the one that they had back, and I want to say it was 2010 that screwed up air travel, to Europe for a number of weeks, because
mhm.
you do not want to fly a plane through a cloud of volcanic ash, because
Only
it's
if
not
you want
like
to
little
crash the
dusty.
plane.
No, because it's not like cute little dust particles. It's tiny microscopic rock, and that's gonna mess up an engine
Mhm,
or two. So
mhm.
that's my thing. That's one of the things I've been kind of eyeballing. I think it's fascinating. Yes, Lori, ice go boom. So
And I was thinking I'd wanna go on vacation in Iceland. No, I'm not thinking about that anymore.
uh, okay. One of my dreams is to go to Iceland, and there's different areas along the Rift Valley where you can. Most of them are submerged, where you can actually jump in some water and you can actually put your hand on one, massive tectonic plate, and then your hand on another massive tectonic plate. And I would like to do that. And yeah, I'm fine with risking it. Like if I'm going to go to Yellowstone, I can go to Iceland. Doggone it. So anyway, that's the smart, dumb, fun stuff. And look at us both picking smart stuff this week,
More
because we're trying to
things.
make a good impression on people, to make them think that we're actually smarter than we actually are. So
We sound smart. Don't we sound
I
smart?
I totally sound smart. So
Uh-huh.
anyway, Anne, let's go ahead and get to it. It's time for 10 questions. We're starting with Anne. The question that I have asked you is, if there were absolutely no restrictions on you, where would you travel right now?
This is a very good question, Jenny Brothers. And I picked the Middle East. If I could go anywhere, I would go to Iraq, Iran, that whole Fertile Crescent area. Yeah, I've always wanted to go there. Jenny and I, being Gen Xers, we were fourth and fifth grade when the Iranian hostage situation. So we
That's
were
right.
hearing about Iran and Iraq all the time, and it seemed so dangerous but really fascinating. And there was like this. It was funny. If you wanted to learn about those places, you really couldn't, because it was like that's where the enemy was, and we weren't supposed to, be curious about the enemy. So, but I've always been super curious about that place. So if I could go anywhere, that's where I'd go.
Okay, and
Mhm,
Lori Whirl is a fan of that. She's like, that's the Tigris and the Euphrates. And
mhm,
I got to tell you, I would agree that there's a lot of interest in that, because that's one of the great ancient civilizations.
mhm.
You talk about the advancement of humanity. That's one of the areas. The Indus Valley and the Tigris and the Euphrates is one of those places that really is. You talk about a place where you just had huge amounts of progress. There you
Mhm.
go.
It's one of the first
So
places.
yeah, there you go. That's well said. All right, Anne, this was a question that you had for me. Go.
Yes, Jenny. What are 3 things you would want people to know about you?
Okay, three things. Number one, I'm an introverted extrovert, meaning that in front of a crowd, I'm on. I can definitely I can do my thing, but at the same time, I also really value my privacy. And when it's time for me to go, I'm gonna go. I don't, I really do like to be home, and I like quiet time, and I like to not talk. I spend my career talking, and so when I get home, I really do just like to be quiet and listen. My husband's a great talker, and I love to listen to him talk, because um, I think he's funny. And B, then I don't have to talk as much, even though I know I'm supposed to be a conversationalist. That's hard. Number two, I value experiences with people over things. So even though I consider myself to be an introverted extrovert, and I do value my alone time, I really do I would rather spend time with people than get things from them. I love presents, don't get me wrong, but I also really love just to be able to sit with the people that I love and hang out and eat and drink and talk and laugh. And I'm thinking back to that party we had last year at your place with the bonfire, and
Mhm.
that was such a lovely, wonderful time to be with people that I haven't been able to see in a long time and spend time and just having a really wonderful. So value experiences over things, and the last thing is that I am loyal and I show up.
Mm.
So there you go.
Mhm.
Those are the things you should know about me.
Yeah. I like presents, so present.
So just so you know, presents for Ann Brothers. Right. I love that. I think that's great. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. And so for those of you that are just listening to this on the Spotify and you're not seeing this, what I have is I have a picture of, it says pick one to be free for the rest of your life. And it's like a Brady Bunch setup of Starbucks, McDonald's, Subway, Chick-fil-A, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Sonic, and Panera. So, Anne, your job is to look at this picture.
Mhm.
Which one would you choose to be free for the rest of your life and why?
Okay. So I picked McDonald's.
I knew you were going to pick that one.
And that's probably the lamest. But Jenny and I grew up in a very small town on the southwest side of the state of Michigan. And there wasn't a lot of treats in our life, but McDonald's was always a treat for us, especially when they got the chicken McNuggets. Oh, and when they first came out, it was like something they only did like, oh gosh, and Happy Meals. Oh my gosh. So it was like the first time we could go to McDonald's, we could pick our own sauce. So I'm not a very nostalgic person, but dang, I have a deep river of nostalgia for McDonald's. Two of my favorite meals come from there: 10-piece McNuggets, spicy hot mustard sauce, fries, and a Coke, or sausage McMuffin, no egg, 2 hash browns, and a Coke.
Nice.
So Subway, the sandwich, no. Panera, again, Panera's fine if you're traveling across the country and you need something consistent. I haven't eaten in a Taco Bell since I was an undergrad. Closest Sonic is in Westland. I'm not driving all the way over there. Tropical Smoothie Cafe, their food does not look appetizing. Chick-fil-A, I've never been to a Chick-fil-A because I love gay people. And
You're not gay for
Starbucks,
Chick-fil-A, but
and Starbucks, there's I shouldn't say I like the consistency of Starbucks. You know what I like about Starbucks? They open at 5:30 in the morning. And sometimes I work early and I'm like, I at 6 in the morning, I need you to be open. If you're a coffee place, you should be open. So that's why I end up at Starbucks sometimes, because I'm like, well, they're open.
yeah, you get these coffee places that don't open until 7. I'm like, what is this? College kids Starbucks? What the hell?
Exactly. I was like, come on, people.
I'm like, some of us work for a living, yo.
Exactly. I stopped at the Starbucks on the drive-through because where I live just got one, and I stopped, and she's like, "What are you doing today?" And I was like, "I'm going to work. I'm like you."
Right on. Lori Worrell says, if Starbucks was Caribou, you'd be all in. Yeah,
Mhm.
I get it. I get it, Lori. And there's no Caribou here. The closest you get to Caribou here is Bigby. And Bigby does, their coffee's not very good, but damn, they do the nice, fluffy, whipped creamy, treats
Mhm.
like no one else. Good job.
Yeah.
Lynn Brand is with us. Lynn, hi. This is all
Hi,
you.
Lynn.
Yeah, right
This is
on.
your fault,
Yeah.
Lynn.
Lynn was the one that challenged us this summer to upgrade and get become a real podcast. So that's what
Mhm.
we're working on. Lynn, you're gonna love it because in 2 weeks we're going to Costco and we're doing a Costco live. So yeah, that's all for you. Because our lives aren't hard enough. So we're gonna go to Costco on a weekend around Thanksgiving when all holiday hell is broken loose. So yeah, you better be watching that day. That's all I have to say. Okay, so yeah, and again, Ann, I absolutely knew you were going to pick the McDonald's on this one, and I knew why, because I totally get it. Because yeah, I mean,
Like,
it literally
people
was
used
like,
to have our friends in school in elementary school used to have their birthday parties at McDonald's.
hell yeah, because they had the fun train.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I can remember when they came out with McNuggets, and it was like it was like my life was never the same after. It was so
It
much
was.
better. I'm like, my
Mhm.
life got so much, because I never liked McDonald's hamburgers because they came with ketchup and mustard and onions. I'm like,
Onions.
that's gross. And so like McNuggets were this, yes, you could have barbecue sauce and then you would put the fries and the nuggets together. Yeah, there's nostalgia for sure.
Nostalgia for sure. And
I
I think,
asked
go ahead.
I was going to say, I asked my students this question and they were all over Chick-fil-A. And I'm like, fine.
Fine. Whatever.
Well, I have to admit something. I have eaten at Chick-fil-A and their macaroni and cheese is really good. Okay.
There you go.
There you go. Anyway, so all right. So that good question. Anne has chosen McDonald's because nostalgia, because in Sturgis, Michigan in 1978, McDonald's was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, that and Pizza Hut. So, because the brothers just did not go out to dinner.
No. If you wanted to go to a restaurant where you had to pull the chair out, then you went to Pizza Hut.
Then you went to Pizza Hut. You knew you did something right. Usually Pizza Hut was for grades. Well, my grades.
I was going to say, and I got to go too.
Good times. All right, next question. All right, this is a question for me. Here we go.
Jenny, what are your 3 favorite things to eat?
You could not have asked me a harder question if it had been calculus. Let's be clear about that. Because food, you know how I feel about food. And I thought about this one a long time because it's like there's food and then there's snacks. And so much like my life, I really value my experiences when I'm eating. So what it really comes down to is that I love nice restaurants and the things I can get there. And I had this list in my head of places. So like La Centrale in Denver, may you rest in peace. Girl and the Goat, Meritage, Brick and Brine here in Kalamazoo, Principal here in Kalamazoo, the Fort in Denver, Mercat in Chicago, La Feria in Detroit, Sushi Den in Denver, Chopes in New Mexico. So these places that make the most wonderful things to eat and drink. And so it's not just that I like food. I like food that's really good and I want to taste every part of it. Now, don't get me wrong. I like a Twinkie just as much as anybody because Twinkies are disgusting and amazing. But I really just like to have some sort of interesting, delicious experience when I go and eat. And I just want it to be really good. And so that's what I like. So I like experiences when I eat. I like pie and cake. And the third thing is I like any food that's messy, wings, ribs, something that's probably gonna require me to change my shirt when I'm done. So yeah, and that's how I feel about food. I feel, and I could literally talk about eating and restaurants and food and bakeries forever because that's one of the things that I just think about it all the time. I love it so much, which is why I'm always going to be fat. Because I'm 53 and going through perimenopause, and apparently you turn into a turtle when that happens. And and B, I just really love it. I'm passionate about it, and I think it's because we grew up in a family of eaters. And that's cool. So those are my 3 things to eat. Any place any restaurant that's amazing, pie and cake, and messy foods. There you go.
There you go.
I talked. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Ann Brothers, you ready for your next question? This is question 3 for you.
Okay.
What is something you find difficult to do that others seem to find easy to do?
Sounding out words.
Okay. So tell us a story. Tell us about that.
Okay. So it took me a long time to do this, but I have dyslexia. I'm not a dyslexic. I have dyslexia. And one of the things that most people think about dyslexics is that they write things backwards, which does happen. But usually you see that with boys. And because of that, boys get diagnosed a lot earlier or a lot more regularly than girls get diagnosed with dyslexia. Girls don't tend to write backwards. One of the things, though, that most people with dyslexia have in common is that they can't learn to read phonetically. They can't sound out words. And so I did not learn to read phonetically. I was in 5th grade, the end of 5th grade, before I learned to read. And that was all my reading is done through sight. So sight words. So it's words that I've memorized. And I'm a really good reader when it comes to like content. It's in pulling out individual words that I have a hard time. So if you have a word on a sign, it's not something I can sound out and figure out what it is. So if I don't have that word memorized, then usually I can't decipher it. So I used to use Jenny, and sometimes I use my husband to decipher language, to decipher words that I can't, because I can't sound them out. So I use this as an example for people. When I learned the word army, I was probably in fourth grade when I learned that word, because when it was in a special reading program for only 3 years, because it was the 70s and special ed wasn't a thing. So, and I learned the word army, and I was really surprised because it was such a small word, and army means a big thing. So I thought it would be a big word. And so people who can sound out words are like, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, it doesn't, but I can't sound out the word. So I have no instincts, basically, is what I'm saying, is that I have no instincts for written language. All my instincts are wrong. And if I was to create words, it would be based on how they look, not on how they sound. So when people sound out words, or they tell me to sound out a word, I just want to smack them in their stupid, smart faces because it's something I can't do. And I understand in theory how it's supposed to work, but I can't make it work. So words that are like proper names are a nightmare. Mostly, I spent most of my life hiding it because, like I said, I was in elementary school in the 70s, and then in high school and college in the 80s, early 90s, and the Disability Act didn't happen until 1990. And one of the things was that least restrictive environment for students, so that students could get as many, even if you were labeled special education, you could be in as many regular ed classes as possible. And that wasn't a thing when I was growing up. So I never had, other than 3 years of a special reading program in the 70s, that's all I ever had. So I was kind of on my own for a lot of it. And though I'm a very good reader now, I'm kind of, it's difficult. Writing is difficult for me still. And most people wouldn't necessarily know that if they read something I wrote, but only because it takes me such a long time to do it. Because I can't sound out words. I don't have that. Did you see the movie? One more aside. Arrival with it's the alien movie, with the alien.
With Amy Adams.
Yeah, with Amy Adams.
Yeah.
Well, at one point she talks about their language and how their language is not based on sound. It's based, and I was like, I almost started crying because the idea of learning a language that wasn't based on sound, I was like, that's amazing.
Like, I want to go to there.
I want to go to there. So that's something that I find that people are naturally inclined to. Most people that I meet are, and I can't do it. So it's I just can't. When I see a word I don't know, I try to find smaller words in it. And then when I can't figure it out, I either pretend I know it or ask somebody.
There you go. And that's, and that's okay. That's what you should do. And the fact that we make that a stigma that people may struggle with that, and we base entire, intelligences on that sucks because it puts people behind. And
exactly.
Being your sister, I've always known how smart you are because you've always demonstrated in many ways to me how smart you are. But sometimes cruelly.
Well, the thing is too, is like for a while, Michigan was holding back kids that couldn't learn, that weren't reading until at third grade. So after third grade, if they weren't reading, they were trying to hold them back, and that would have been me. I would have been held back because I was not reading at third grade. So, and I think that would have been a very detrimental for me. So
I think it would have. I absolutely agree that would have been a deal breaker. Look, Jeannie Caselli is with us, and she says you are an amazing at conquering reading, Anne, for conquering reading. So well done.
There we go.
What up, Jeannie?
Jeannie. Now, Jeannie, I don't know if you were in earlier, but you're going to be our expert on murder
podcast.
Murder and true crime podcasts. So in case you didn't know, now you know.
So you're going to be on the show sometime in the near future, so you can talk about all the murder podcasts, because Anne and I don't know about murder podcasts, but yeah, so you're our expert on that. Look, she's excited. She said sweet. So that is awesome. Oh yeah. All right. This next question is for me. Are you ready, Ann Brothers, to ask me this question?
Yes. What is one of your smartest moments, and what is one of your dumbest moments?
Well, they're actually the same moment. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. My smartest moment was when I became a teacher instead of going into the Air Force to become an Air Force officer. That is also the dumbest moment when I decided to become a teacher and not become an Air Force officer. Allow me to elaborate. What it really comes down to is that, and I don't mind being open about this, is that I'm struggling right now being a public educator. I've been, this is year 25 for me, and it has, I would say it's become this exhausting profession that I wonder if I've chosen correctly. You doubt yourself and you wonder if this was the right thing to do. I think I've been effective throughout my career, but I also understand that if I would have joined the Air Force, I'd be retired by now. and the thing about being in the Air Force is that I'm pretty sure I could have become an Air Force, a meteorologist through the Air Force and done that, which is something that I've always kind of wanted to do, and that has sort of passed me by. So there is some regret. I think it was smart because I did find my calling. I do believe education was my calling, but at the same time, now 25 years into it, it doesn't feel like such a great choice. And here's Tracy Larson pointing out thanks, Tracy. I know that you could be retired if you went to the Air Force. I know, right?
Jenny, you could be a veteran.
I could be a veteran, and the thing is, it was a really hard decision because I thought about it. I didn't really talk about it much because I kind of ruminated on that, that the implications of being in the military, of course, is that you travel and you kind of live that nomadic lifestyle that the military does. But I also think I would have been a good officer,
Mm-hmm.
But I think I would have, at that time in my life when I was deciding this, I was probably 23, 24 years old. I was still fit. I was still at the peak of my smartness. And I think I would have made a good officer. So I think it was smart and dumb all at the same time. I don't know. I try not to live my life going, I should have done this. I should have. But sometimes you do. And that's one of those things that I would have liked to have maybe tried. And the other thing I think I probably should have tried is right when we were finishing up the education tour, is that I should have gone to Chicago and tried out for Second City and showed some balls in that. I think that was one of my dumbest moments, is not at least trying that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I think I could have learned a lot doing that, and whether it would have panned out or not, at least I would have known and tried, So. Let's see what Tracy Larson, she's with us. Tracy, for those of you that don't know Tracy, I taught with Tracy in Forest Lake, Minnesota, and she says teaching isn't what it was 30 years ago. Remember when we could do fun stuff before so much testing? And the truth is, I barely remember that. I started teaching in 99, which was minutes before No Child Left Behind.
Uh-huh.
And so that really started to take over and say 2000 to 2004. That's pretty much, that's when that wave essentially took over America. So and I think that's when kind of started to regret those choices. So yeah. All right. Are you ready for your next question, Ann?
I'm ready for my next question.
Your next question is this. So what I want to know is what or who is your go-to comfort activity, food, show, and person? Go.
Okay, so my comfort activity is reading. Like you, I like to have some quiet downtime. And if I could spend 2 hours every day just reading and writing, that would be my ideal. That would be ideal for me. So reading is my go-to comfort thing, especially I love to read nonfiction, but when I really, really want like cuddly, or, to escape, fiction is, I just love it. So I usually only read one fiction at a time. I usually have several nonfiction going, but I can get into a fiction book and be done with it in like a day or two. So yeah, I like to really get absorbed in that. It's a good comfort place. My comfort food is chicken McNuggets.
I knew you were going to say that too. Which I get, because that's mine too. For real.
For real. It's like, I'm sad. Chicken McNuggets. I'm happy. Chicken McNuggets. I got to clean the house. Chicken McNuggets. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my comfort show, right now it's probably 30 Rock or The Good Place. So those are both less than 30 minutes. They make me feel good. They make me laugh. If I'm tired, I can watch one and then go to bed, or I can sit and watch it for like 5 hours. So yeah, either one of those shows. And then my comfort person is probably, I have two. I have my husband, Duncan, and my sister, Jenny. So yeah, so those are my comfort people. So
I have a question for you real quick, Ann. So you said 30 Rock is your comfort show. Have you seen the little video snippet where they're comparing Jack Donaghy to Ron DeSantis? And it's that Jack Donaghy episode where Alec Baldwin is trying to act. He's like holding the two coffee cups. It's like this 20-second blurb where they're comparing, and it's uncanny.
What do I do with my hands? I need two coffee cups.
Like somebody nailed that. I'm like, oh my God, Ron DeSantis is Jack Donaghy.
Oh no, but now I'm gonna go look for it.
I'm Jack Donaghy. I just bought the moon. Yeah. So yeah. Working, love that.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, and I would agree. For me, yeah, comfort show, 30 Rock's up there. And God, The Good Place is such a great comfort show. God, it's funny. Love it.
Yeah.
Yep. Chicken McNuggets. Okay. All right.
Jenny,
are you ready to ask me? Yes.
What one word describes you?
Well, this one was a tough one for me too, because here's the thing, Anne, is that this is a hard question because it's easy to take a word that others would apply to you and then apply it to yourself. So I had to really kind of parse through who I think I am as a person. And so taking the time to think of a word that genuinely that I would use to describe myself and not that how others would use to describe myself. And so this one took me longer than I thought it would. And the word that I came up with is adaptable. And I think that word applies to me pretty much forever, because I feel like that's, when we were little kids, we moved everywhere. We moved a bunch of places by the time before you and I were even 7 years old. We were in Michigan, we're in Colorado, we're in Pennsylvania, we're back in Michigan. And then I've done a lot of moving around as an adult. And I'm not saying that the change in my life are not self-inflicted, because they are. But even just, in my career, adapting to the changes of teaching or the things that you have to learn to be a teacher, or I just feel like that's the word that describes me, is that I've always found a way to adapt and change and to get better or to be coachable, and I think that's the word that I would use to describe myself, that I feel like in my life, I've become adaptable, coachable, that sort of thing. So
yeah, I don't know. I would agree.
Yeah. And I think if you are going to answer that question, you really have to know yourself, and then you have to put aside what you think others, they would agree with it or not. Like, I don't care if you agree with it or not. This is what I know about myself.
Right.
So
perfect.
Yeah. All right. Anne, this is your last question. And this question came from Tara Trotter at Portage North Middle School. Who are the 6 to 8 people you are inviting to your dream dinner party? They can be anyone, they can be dead or alive, etc. And then why would you invite them? What are you eating? And what would your entertainment for this party be? This is a loaded question.
And I had to write it down because there's so much to remember, Jenny.
Okay, good.
So
good.
Here's the people I would invite to my party. I would invite Lucille Ball, Carol Burnett, Nichelle Nichols, who was played Uhura on Star Trek.
Uhura. Good.
Frida Kahlo, Tina Fey, Catherine O'Hara, any of the 6 female pharaohs, like Nefertiti or Cleopatra or Hatshepsut. And then lastly, Anne of Cleves, who was the fourth wife of Henry VIII.
Wait, did he kill her too?
He did not. She ended up with the best situation. They never even consummated their marriage. He divorced her after I want to say 2 months, and she got a wicked sweet divorce settlement and died one of the richest women in England.
Nice.
I know, right?
Score. That's awesome. That's a who's who of ladies at your dinner party.
Exactly. So, like Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett and Nichelle Nichols, they were all important people to me when I was little. So when I grew up watching Lucille Ball reruns and Carol Burnett reruns and Star Trek reruns. And those were the women. I didn't understand when people said women aren't funny, because I'm like, Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball are hilarious. I know I watch
They were
funny women all the
funny.
time, and
Yeah.
then Nichelle Nichols was just, she was so freaking cool. Here she was on this, spaceship, and she was the only woman on the command deck, and she wasn't somebody's girlfriend or wife or love interest. She was doing her job, and man, she was just the coolest person I had ever seen. And I watched Star Trek for her. After Creature Feature on Saturdays, Star Trek rerun would come on, and that's why I watched it. I watched it for O'Hara. I was like, is O'Hara in this episode? Is she in this episode? So that's why I would have those three women at my party, because they were very influential on me as a little girl. And then, of course, Tina Fey and Catherine O'Hara, I think, are some of the funniest women working now. Not the only funny women, but some of the funniest women. And I really love some of the things that they've done recently. And of course, Frida Kahlo, because, man, bitch rocked. One of the six, any of the six female pharaohs. I mean, Egypt was the longest. It's the longest dynasty, not necessarily dynasty, but the longest civilization.
Civilization? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, how did these six women become pharaohs? And it was just, they're all fascinating, and it's kind of like you can look at how they became pharaohs, and you can compare it to how women are in power right now, and how some things still haven't changed very much. So, and then of course, Anne of Cleves, because like I said, I mean, she
Dude, I'm like, yeah, awesome.
awesome, exactly. Like, she got the best deal of all of them. So, I want to know what she was doing afterwards, like with all the money.
You're making it rain all up on herself. I don't know.
Exactly. I don't know. She's like, yeah, whatever. So, what we would eat? Well, Jenny, we would eat green chili cheeseburgers, seafood towers, mashed potatoes with gravy. We'd have French patisserie, margaritas, and French 75s.
So much margaritas. We would see Marguerite Ann at the party. For those of you that don't know this, my sister doesn't really drink. And so when she has one margarita, she turns into who we would like to refer to as Margaritan, which means that they're going to be some fun stuff. Watch your back. Okay. For God's sake, don't let her answer a phone.
And then, of course, the entertainment would be the Detroit History Club would sponsor a scavenger hunt for us at the Detroit Institute of Art.
Nice. And we will actually we're gonna talk Detroit History Club coming up, and cross your fingers, we will have Bailey, the owner of the owner operator of Detroit History Club, with us as a guest, because she's just banging. She's awesome. So yes, awesome. And I want to go to the dinner party. No, I don't want to go to your dinner party. I don't want to interrupt, but I would like to be a fly on the wall at your dinner party.
Jenny,
I think that would
you can totally come to the dinner party.
Oh,
of
gosh,
course.
that's so cool. Yay. I'll just serve drinks. I'll just bartend, because I think that would be a great gig too. Ooh, I love it. Right. This is the last question. It's my last question. It's the last question of the day. All right, I'm ready.
Jenny, how did we get here to Smart Dumb Fun with the Brothers Sisters?
Well, Anne, this goes all the way back. It starts with this. Again, okay, so let's go all the way back to when we were kids. When we were kids, we had each other's backs, but we weren't necessarily tight. Like, we didn't, the only time I would say we were really tight was when we were playing soccer together. Otherwise, we had a somewhat adversarial relationship when we were really young. And then we became friends in college. And then right after college, so this really started for us when we did the mobile education tour back in 1995. So Ann and I got in the car, and we spent several months basically traveling around the Western and Midwestern United States and doing this education programming for kids. We contracted out of a company in Detroit, and we were in a car for months, and we put, I don't know how many tens of thousands of miles on your 1991 Chevy Cavalier. So that's when that's when this started. And it basically continued with every road trip we've ever done together, which is, when you were teaching and we had our summers off, we road tripped quite a bit. We went all over the place. So it really got its direction and its legs in 2017 when we kind of live streamed. We discovered the joy of Facebook Live, and we live streamed our trip to the eclipse in Grand Island, Nebraska in 2017. And that was super fun. And then it really kind of got going during what I like to call the COVID blockade, when everybody stayed home in 2020. I was living in Wisconsin at the time, and so wasn't really traveling in 2020. So I wasn't getting to see my family and my friends. And so this became a way for us to just communicate and talk to each other. And then it just kind of grew. We've taken our little shows and we've kind of formed an identity of the things that we like to talk about and how we like to talk about it. And like I said, we got a little kickstart from Lynn Brand this summer that said, we want more. We want it to be more consistent. We want more guests. We want more stuff. And so that's where we are right now. We're in that process of trying to build our following. And the thing is, the way I look at it is, the more of a following we get, the more broader range of guests we can get, the more we can do, the more stuff we can do, the more places we can go. And it really did just, like I said, you and I have a lot in common. We do a lot of stuff together. We like a lot of the same things. We have different strengths as far as what we bring to the table. You are absolutely the smarter of the smart, dumb, fun. I'm more of the dumb, fun that doesn't mind, doing some of the grunt work, like, trying to figure out an LLC and trademarking and stuff like that. And that's, I think, one of the things that works for us, is that we're trying to do something, as far as what I want this to be. I really want this to be a place where middle-aged ladies can listen to a couple of other middle-aged ladies and just talk about crap that we like. And, part of it is that we want to know what our listeners want us to talk about. The truth is, we have much to discuss and much to think about. And, I guess I want this to be the Joe Rogan show for, middle-aged ladies. I don't know. So that's how we got here. And that's how I want this to go. I just really think that there's a lot of cool podcasts out there. There's, so much to listen to. And I don't know if we're any different or not. I just know that I enjoy talking to my sister. I enjoy making this content. We're going to start working on putting a little show together that we're going to travel with and go to, do it like a game night, in order to sort of increase our brand and increase our following and do more fun, dumb stuff, because that's a great way to interact with people. Ultimately, I want to entertain. And, if you want to listen to this in the car, great. If you want to listen to this when you're doing your dishes, great. But
Perfect.
that's what I want this to be. I want this to be easy and fun to listen to, make you think about some things, maybe make you laugh a little bit. Hopefully we won't offend you too much with our salty language, and I'll try not to say really naughty words.
Sure. I will try to promise too.
Right. But I'm not making any real promises. So.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. So
depends.
Anyway, that's how we got here to Smart Dumb Fun, and that's where I'd like things to go with Smart Dumb Fun. And look, Ann, I have a sneak peek of next week.
Yay.
I know. This is another thing we're going to start doing, is we're going to start kind of talking about where Ann and I have actually planned shows.
I know, right?
I know, right? So next week, we're very excited, at long last.
Mm-hmm.
The prequel to the Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the movie is coming out next Friday, November 17th. So we will be reviewing the movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And we'll also be talking about the book by Suzanne Collins as well, because it's actually so if you're not familiar, Suzanne Collins wrote the Hunger Games series, The Hunger Games Catching Fire and Mockingjay. Mm-hmm. And this is this story follows Coriolanus Snow, who plays evil President Snow in the Hunger Games books. And this is his story. This is how President Snow sort of becomes President Snow. It's his story as an 18-year-old boy and what sort of helps shape him and who he is. Mm-hmm. It's a great book.
It is a great book. It's my favorite of the 4 books.
It's not close. It's so much better. Mm-hmm. And I really liked the original Hunger Games series, but this one elevates it. And there's just something about watching a villain emerge. And that's what this book is. It's like, he wasn't always a villain, but was
They
sort
don't
of
come out of a
destined to be.
box like that.
They don't. They don't. So anyway, just that's what we're doing next week. Ann and I are going to the Houdini Ball in Detroit next week, and then we will be with Jeannie. Jeannie's coming with us, and
He's coming with
then we
us. And my friend
oh,
Amy.
Amy,
Mhm.
and then we're going to be going to see Songbirds and Snakes, and then we will do our review next Sunday, and then we'll drop it on Spotify. So anyway, more information to come. Like I said, we are going to be dropping an audio podcast on Spotify. Hopefully starting to drop this. So kind of the way we want this to work is that we will do a show on Sunday live on Facebook, like you see here. And then we will process the video, drop that video on YouTube. And then you will also be able to find us on Spotify, the audio version of that. I don't know. I think Spotify does video version too. I'm still learning, but in a few months, this will be old hat. And then you'll be like, hey, listen to the Brother Sisters because they didn't talk about anything, but we talked about everything.
Uh-huh. Also, we're going to have to do that Instagram presence thing, Jenny.
Yes. Well, you know what? I actually set up our Instagram. We have an Instagram. Just look for the
what's
Brother
our
Sisters.
Instagram?
The Brother Sisters.
The Brothers Sisters.
That's right. We have an Instagram. We have a Spotify. We don't have anything on Spotify yet because I haven't dropped the podcast. That's what I got to do after this. I got to process the video and put it on the Spotify. And then we'll also have where else did I? So we got the Spotify, we got the YouTube, we got the Facebook. And I'm trying to figure out a way to get us on Twitter, but Twitter.
Oh, it's not Twitter anymore. It's X. Let's not do that.
No. It's not the other one. Oh, TikTok. There it is. I'm like, Twitter.
TikTok. That's the one. I was like,
yeah, I'm not interested in the Twitter, the tweeter, the X, whatever the F it is now. So
I'm
look at me editing myself. I didn't even say the F word. I just said F. When I really just wanted to say fuck. I mean, there it was.
Oh, there it goes.
I can't help it. I know it's a sign of a weak mind. According to Reacher, it's a sign of a weak mind. So a little bit. So.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So anyway, look at us having we are back and better than ever. So we're trying to keep these podcasts a little under an hour. We did look at 56 minutes and 14 seconds.
Oh my gosh. I'm very impressed with us.
I am too. But I think, I've got to find our music because remember we have that cool banging music.
Oh yeah, that was great.
All right. That's going to be our outro music. All right. It was the dance pop one. Here it goes. Wait, right. Dance it. Again, I have no idea if our listeners can actually hear this music right now. No clue. So again, we could be just doing all this dancey stuff, and you may or may not hear this music. Anyway, Band Brothers, thanks for joining me for this week on the Brother Sisters.
It was my pleasure, Jenny's Brothers.
That's right, you guys. Thank you for joining us, listeners. And again, check us out on the Spotify, the Brother Sister Smart Dumb Fun, and on the YouTube, the Brother Sister Smart Dumb Fun. And we will see you guys in a week where we will be reviewing Songbirds and Snakes. In the meantime, peace and out.